What's going on, people? Welcome back to KGX to the Z. Here today with a match reaction. I know I'm a little late, but as I like to do on this channel, I always like to watch the match twice, right? Especially matches like this, early kickoffs, 12:30 there, 7:30 here on the East Coast of the U.S., where I'm just waking up, tuning it in, drinking some coffee, kind of processing everything. I wanted to go back and watch it again to make sure that the eyes weren't lying and that we didn't get it in a little bit too much on Friday night. But luckily, the second time around, just reconfirmed and reassured a lot of what I saw the first watch. So kick it off, right? We'll start with the lineups. So for us, we had back four was Sancho. I'm sorry, was Sancho. Back four was Sanchez in goal. Left back Cucurella. Left center back was Colwell. Right center back, which was a change, was Tosin came in, and right back was with Gusto out, with James out. Maresca probably deservedly, rightfully so, not trusting Archipong. We had Fofana at right back. Enzo came back into the midfield, got over his illness, partnered it with Caicedo. The front attacking three trident was the same that finished the game last week versus Bournemouth, which was Madueke on the right, Palmer in the 10, Sancho on the left-hand side, and then despite Nkuku scoring the winner versus the Cherries, we had Nico up top. West Ham came with a little bit of a 3-4-3, right? So they had probably more of a sort of a fluid back four, but in possession they dropped back into a back three. But we'll get into that, right? So they had left back was ex-Chelsea left back Emerson, center back was Kilman, other center back was Mavropanos, ex-Arsenal player. Right back was Wan-Bissaka. Midfield, you had a midfield of Paqueta, Guido Rodriguez, and the Mexican international Alvarez. The left-hand side, you had Somerville. False nine, center forward was Jared Bowen. And then on the right side was Kudus. So, as you know, Chelsea have historically struggled at West Ham's ground. Prior to them going to the Olympic Stadium, even going back to Upton Park, Boleyn Field ground, we always struggled there, right? London Derby, West Ham used to always just make it difficult, physical team, especially in the later stages under Moyes. Even though we did smoke them, I think 5-0 last year towards the end, but they were kind of on the beach. Moyes kind of saw the writing on the wall. Players looked like they had checked out for the season, so forth, so forth. But like I said, historically had struggled there. The 12:30 kickoff is always tough for teams. They just seem to be a little bit out of rhythm in terms of just kind of getting up early, getting your body clock adjusted to the new start. But all that being said, overall for us, it was a fantastic match, and we'll go through it from the start. But we came out, and unlike the Bournemouth game where we dominated it a little bit early in that game, but then they kind of settled in, we were on West Ham from the very start, and not even 4 minutes in, we just a simple ball, right? West Ham had an attack. They turned the ball over, and we one simple pass from Sancho released Jackson on the left hand side, and when I say he met no confrontation, no opposition at all, he probably in his own mind couldn't believe the amount of space and the time that he had to drive at Areola, their goalkeeper, and one-on-one with the keeper. And we've known that Jackson historically has struggled in these moments to finish his chances. Will do everything great from box to box, but then when he gets into the box, he either overthinks it or has poor contact. But credit to Jackson, slotted it, nutmegged Areola, and 4 minutes in, it looked like West Ham was still asleep, and we were already up. And if you know the kind of fortitude and mental kind of composure that we've had over the last few years, these last two down years, you'll know that early goals mean the world to a young team. They mean the world to an experienced team too. Allows you to sort of play, take your, keep your foot on the gas a little bit, but also kind of play smartly, allow the opposition to push numbers forward, and then you can kind of hit them again and things like that. But yeah, 4 minutes in, and we were already up 1-0, thanks to Jackson, and we looked like we hadn't even broken a sweat yet. And like I said, West Ham was just coasting. They've really struggled. This was their third home game on the bounce that they've played. They've lost all three of them, but when you look at the competition, they lost to City away, or City at home. They lost to Aston Villa, and then lost to Chelsea. So two teams, if you're looking at the table, and I know it's a little crazy, unless you're Arsenal, City, or Liverpool, looking at the table this early is a little bit of fool's gold. But those are three teams that you would expect to be in and around the top six. With with City favorites to win it. Aston Villa looking really good. They had a nice little 2-1 comeback victory versus Wolves. So, even though they've struggled at home, the quality of opposition that they've played, you could probably say, yeah, they were probably, of all the teams circling this one on the map. We only won 3 away games all of last year under Poch in the league. We've already run 3 on the bounce so far under Maresca, so that's obviously an improvement. But yeah, getting back to the game, we, from that point, it just seemed like it just sort of demoralized West Ham, and I think around the 11th or 12th minute, we created another chance. Again, very similar, right? Just one simple pass just releases Jackson. He's on the left-hand side, which he seems to be very comfortable in, kind of coming in off that left-hand side, maybe harken back to his days in Villarreal, or his days even before that, where he sort of started out on the wing. And he drives across the box. He plays a square ball to Palmer, and you would bet the house on Palmer converting. But unfortunately, Palmer's left-footed shot, he just drags it a little bit wide right. And it should have really been 2-0 at that point. Game done. West Ham, like again, just looking very easy to play through, making it just no sort of opposition. Even though they had Alvarez, who's a defensive midfielder, Guido Rodriguez, who's more on the defensive side, right? They didn't have Souček in there. They did have Paqueta playing a little bit more advanced. And then with their fluid front three. But their front three, they do a good job overall when it comes to working hard on the defensive side of the game. But yeah, it just looked like very easy pickings for us. And you could sort of see this again, sort of lead up until about the 19th minute, 18th, 19th minute, again, where we have the ball in possession, and in possession we sort of we've played like we've played for the first few matches, especially the last couple, where Cucurella's inverting. We had Fofana, who was the right back, who was kind of high a little bit on the right-hand side, but not too deep. And then Colwell, Caicedo, and the other center back, which this match was Tosin, sort of kind of control and kind of scan things, with Colwell really looking to play those incisive passes. So again, we had the ball with our center backs. We played one pass into the midfield. At this time, we had we had Enzo and we had Caicedo. They had one central defender or a central midfielder in there, marking 2 of our midfielders. And we played a simple pass to Enzo, and Enzo with a really, really intelligent pass. Enzo gets a lot of stick, some of it deservedly so for some of his performances and some of his passing, because we know the kind of passer he can be. We know how smart he is when it comes to reading the game and things like that. He plays a nice little first touch, sort of blind pass, right behind the West Ham central defensive midfielder, into Caicedo, who takes one touch, looks up, sees Jackson running right up the heart of the defense, and Caicedo plays a lovely just through ball, the perfect weight on it. Releases Jackson. Jackson's in again, 1v1 versus Areola, and a lovely sort of outside of the boot, tucked away finish. at the near post for Jackson. It's 2-0, and the game is pretty much all but killed right then and there. West Ham fans, the Hammer fans, are sort of disheveled, off put. You can hear the groans around the stadium, and within 30 minutes, it is, like I said, or 20 minutes at that time, it's already 2-0, and we look like we haven't. We look like a team that hasn't struggled historically at that ground, which we all know is very untrue. Now, from that point, West Ham do start to get into it a little bit. They do, if you're looking at a period of, or looking at a time when was West Ham's best period in the match, it was from that moment until about the 30 minute mark. They had a few shots. They had a shot by Bowen. They had a shot by Kudus, who was, of all their players, especially in the attack, he was by far their best player. He looked so out of place in the sense that no other player for West Ham was on his level. Somerville did some things on that left hand side to Fofana, got Fofana booked early, and things like that. But Kudus was having a proper go at Cucurella, and Cucurella was doing well. Like he wasn't giving up great chances, but if you had to edge the battle, you would definitely have kind of looked at Kudus and been like, yeah, he was their one danger player, which pre-match, seeing the lineups, you look at it and you're going to say, yeah, Kudus he's a player, no disrespect to any West Ham fans, but he's a player that's probably above the West Ham level. He should be at a really big top 4, top 5, top 6 side, or a top side across Europe. He is that good, that physical, that strong, that good of a dribbler, that good of it with his output, his technique, and things like that. Really, really good player. A lot of times managers over the last few years have gone to Ajax, and they've poached certain players. Looking at United with Anthony, even when Sebastian Haller was there for a brief bit of time. How these folks missed out on Kudus. I know there were some concerns about his attitude and things like that, but the guy's an absolute baller. Would have loved him in our squad prior to us bringing in Neto, with Madueke getting a little bit better. Not saying that those guys are better than Kudus, but just saying that we already have bodies at that position. But yeah, Paqueta had a decent shot, but other than that, it was pretty much he was pretty much tame and kind of marked out the game. But we had we had a definitely a scary moment where Somerville was on the left side of the box, our right hand side. So he's up against Fofana. He gets by Fofana. Fofana reaches out, grabs Somerville, tugs on him a little bit. Somerville, of course, like all attackers do now, they're taught to go down. Doesn't get called. The ref plays on. Does go to VAR. VAR. Oh, excuse me. VAR, which in this whole weekend, there were just some shocking VAR moments, which is kind of part of the course for our team. But VAR deems it not a penalty and not a clear and obvious error, which, if I'm being 100% honest, which I always will be, that looked like a penalty to me. I've seen them given. When he did it, I thought to myself, oh, shit. He's definitely going to get a card. He's definitely going to get we're going to give away a penalty, and we're going to give West Ham a lifeline back into the game. But for whatever reason, wasn't called. And then as soon as that seemed to sort of deflate West Ham, and we kind of got back into it with Nico getting a couple shots off. Madueke, who was relatively quiet going forward, but defensively, I think he had 8 recoveries, was really, really put in a shift. And if you've heard Maresca's comments about Nani, it's always about the work that he does off the ball and the work that he does in training. So it's very good to see that even though the majority of the attack was coming down our left-hand side, West Ham's right-hand side with Wan-Bissaka, who's prone to get caught out of position, it was nice to see that Madueke wasn't checked out, wasn't sulking. He was still working hard for the team. So big up, props to Madueke for really, really putting in a shift. And partly because he knows he has to, because of the depth that we have at the winger position, bringing in 60 million pound netto, or 51 million pound plus add-on, whatever the maths are. You know that um, players like that, and just like we used to have back in the day where we had multiple players at each position, they know that they're going to have to work hard and produce in order to get those minutes. And even though they're young and they're not of the caliber that we used to bring in when we had guys like Joe Cole, Maluda, all those different kind of wingers that were really top wingers, kind of in their primes physically and as a player. Um, it's good to see that Madueke was working. But other than that, I mean, attacking wise, he was sore. He was kind of kind of out of it a little bit in terms of just we just didn't go down that side as much. Palmer was kind of dropping deep into positions, kind of picking it up. Seems like teams are really man marking Palmer and trying to take him out of the game, fouling him a lot, getting the Eden Hazard treatment when it comes to just kicking him. But you could tell that Lopetegui had his tactics wrong because he made a first half sub after like 30, maybe 30 some minutes when he brought on Thomas Suchek. For Guido Rodriguez, who was having an absolute stinker, and to be honest, everyone in that midfield, Alvarez was having a stinker as well. Probably should have been sent off. Supposedly he made some threats to Enzo, but you never know. I mean, lip readers, have said some things, and there's been some rumors circulating online, but it seemed a little bit extreme. So we'll give Alvarez the benefit of the doubt there, but yeah, we had some decent chances. We looked pretty solid defensively on set pieces. Sanchez was relatively comfortable in terms of even though West Ham got some shots off, they weren't very difficult and very good and high percentage or high XG shots, but Sanchez was very good with his feet. Did a good job of mixing it up, playing it short, while also pinging the ball deep, just to sort of kind of move their center backs and their defensive line back a little bit to give them the thought of, hey, we could always play it, ping it in behind. We've seen him do that before against Wolves, where Jackson brought it down, played it to Palmer. Palmer slotted it in first time with the left foot. But yeah, we went into halftime 2-0, and a little bit of PTSD from last year kind of kicked in where, to give Pacha's credit, he oftentimes would set up the game plan right and we'd play very well first half, but second half we would just struggle. But this time completely different because not even like 2 minutes into the second half, and we get on the attack with Nico on the left-hand side again coming in. Palmer, a nice little... Actually, Nico's driving with it. It's like a nice little 3-on-2 counterattack, which we've seen Chelsea be notoriously poor at last year with the likes of Sterling, and even going back a couple of years ago with Mount, with Havertz, with Timo Werner, where we would always get the pass wrong in the final third. But today, credit to the boys, they did a great job. Nico is driving. He sort of pulls up a little bit to allow Palmer the time to overlap. Plays a just very simple ball to Palmer, and then Palmer takes one touch and then bangs it off the near post, and then it goes in. It's 3-0. Game's over. And after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing for us. We did have some chances a little bit later on. I'm looking sort of at the timeline. Nico had another shot inside the box that could have gotten him his hat trick. I think it was a nice cut in from Madueke, who sort of laid it off to him, and then Nico tried to just get something on it. It got deflected in there. We had another shot by Madueke from sort of the center of the box where kind of got deflected. And like I said, Madueke does a good job. When he did get the ball, he did a good job of sort of beating his man and making it dangerous, which is what I want from our wingers. Sancho didn't have the greatest game on the left-hand side. He did get an assist on the first Jackson goal. But he didn't have a poor game by any means. He wasn't giving the ball away. Most of the involvement on the left-hand side was more of just Jackson just finding the space or creating the space, with sort of Sancho kind of tucking in and sort of just playing easy passes. He did a very good job. I'll give him credit of Sancho of holding the ball up, linking the play, especially in our half when they started to press us high. He did a great job of kind of coming back, linking up with Cucurella, playing some passes inside to Enzo and to Caicedo to allow them to sort of move forward and progress the ball. But we kind of got into it. We brought on João Felix. we who had two chances. One of them he put wide on the left hand side where he found himself in a little pocket of space, sort of right outside the box, kind of on that half space on the left hand side. Put that outside. He had another one that he worked the keeper on. And then Nkuku came on, so Jackson didn't get his chance for the hat trick. Nkuku played fairly well. He had a chance to probably should have scored on a header. And if you're looking at it between the Palmer shot, maybe another one in there, it should have really been 4 or 5-0. But 3-0 away, 3 straight wins on the road, 3 wins, 1 loss to City, 1 draw to Palace, and I keep looking back on that draw and just thinking, man, what could have been? Had we gotten the 3 points like we should have, like we deserved, we would be sitting really pretty in the league after 5 games. We would have been on 12 points, which is really nice considering 2 home matches, 3 away matches, including not including, but the first match of the year. When we were sort of unsettled, getting a City side who also was missing some big players as well. No Rodri in that one. Foden came on late as he's done for the majority of this year already. But yeah, if you're looking at it from the standpoint, player of the match. I mean, Nico got 2 goals and an assist and really put the match away early. Caicedo was phenomenal. He was my man of the match, even though Sanchez was incredible in the Bournemouth tie. But the way that Caicedo has been breaking up the play, he's been tidy in possession. He's been incisive. He got the assist today for Jackson on Jackson's second goal. He's been screening the back 4. He's been dropping back in there to pick the ball up. He's been just really, really tight, really, really secure. Really just looking like the 100 million, looking like the player that we saw at Brighton, and looking like you will never justify his price tag, right? $100 million, 100 million pounds for a center defensive midfielder, even with Declan Rice putting in great shifts as well for Arsenal over the last 13, 14 months. It's just a hard price tag to justify, but what he gives to our team in both in sense of stability, hunger. He's got the appetite to win the ball back like Conte did. Not quite the legs and the engine that Conte did, but he's a little bit more feisty than Conte. But he also doesn't, just like Conte, he doesn't back out of any challenges. He's never afraid to put in a tackle. Always kind of toes that line between a yellow card and not being on a yellow. But today he was, or 2 days ago, he was incredible. So big up to him, big up to Jackson, big up to Cole Palmer for continuing to play through, being man marked, being kicked, and still putting up. I think he's got 2 goals and 4 assists on the season in 5 matches, 4 and 5 for Jackson, including a couple of assists. And things are looking really, really good. I was very, very nervous coming into this one, based off of our form away at that ground, based off of the talent that West Ham has, especially the attacking talent. I know they haven't got things quite gelled yet, and they might not under Lopetegui, but they still have a lot of players that can hurt you, even the likes of Mikel Antonio. I thought Lopetegui got a little bit too cute and probably should have started Mikel Antonio because he always gives us fits with his physicality. Big up to Tosin. Tosin looked phenomenal, both defensively, in the air, and also on the ball. Very, very calm. He drove with the ball a couple times into the midfield. A couple times he drove with it. There was nothing there. Put his foot on it, pulled it back out, and sort of just kind of settled the play. So he looked very, very good. Fofana looked shaky at right back, which is not a disservice to him, but give me Fofana at right back over Disasi any day of the week. Like Sanchez was good. Cucurella was his normal feisty self. He did get a yellow card, I think, but he did a very good job of providing extra coverage in the midfield to allow Enzo to get a little bit higher, to allow Caicedo to get a little bit higher at times. So he did a very good job. Who else? Like I said, I mentioned Madueke. The subs came on and they looked like they were hungry, like they were firing. Big up to Maresca for setting the team up very well. he talked about in his post-match press conference about the way that they expected West Ham to attack and for West Ham to build, and it was exactly that, right? They built in that sort of a 3-2-5 where Alvarez would drop in the middle, and then we sort of pressed with like a 4-4-2 with Jackson and with Cole Palmer up top, kind of marshaling them to the flanks so that we could kind of double up with Madueke or with Sancho, and then using the sideline as an additional defender. So big up to Enzo for showing his Maresca for showing his tactical flexibility, and then for executing a game plan and having a game plan that suits our playing style. So I've really I think we were all very, very nervous after seeing the preseason and sort of seeing the super high line and all those things. But credit to Maresca. I mean, he has done a really good job of sort of instilling his principles, motivating the team. He's very, very honest. Someone asked him the other day about you had 40 players, and he said no. Especially when it comes to attack, he said I've got 2 left wingers in Sancho and Mudryk. I've got 2 number 9s in Jackson and in Cuckoo. I've got 2 number 10s in Palmer and Felix. I've got 2 right wingers in Madueke and Neto. But I've also got in Cuckoo who can play out wide, João Felix who can play in a few different positions, Sancho who can play in a few different positions. But he went through and was very, very honest and very explicit in this is how I see my team set up. So big up to him. We've got what Carabao Cup match tomorrow. Barrow at home, League Two side. I'd like to see a little bit of not a little bit. I'd like to see some rotation because we've got a big one coming up next weekend at home versus a undefeated Brighton team. They're coming off a 2-2 draw. They pulled one back, so that's going to be very, very difficult. I know we beat them at the end of last year away to Brighton, but the performance wasn't that great. And we sort of developed a little bit of a rivalry with the Brighton fans and things like that, based off of all the players, backroom staff, managers that we've stole from them or acquired from them in the last 2 years. But yeah, nothing but love for the guys. Super excited, super positive. This is one of the best. This match was it was sort of a swing match, right? Win this match, and we look at our start as very favorable, right? 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. Lose that match or drop points in that match, and the start becomes a little bit more. It's a little bit more concerning. But it was nice to see that was the performance, right? Give me points over performance any day, but when you get points and a performance, all smiles. So appreciate everybody checking in. We'll try to do a Barrow preview, but if we can't get that in there because don't have too much information on Barrow, then we'll see you back at the post-match reaction, and I'll try to get it up relatively quick. But like I said, appreciate everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we'll catch you at the next one.